Hi,
Good
Katie. Good
morning.
morning. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm joining you from my kitchen today where I am eating very healthy dates
Yummy.
instead of something else too sweet and mineral water. Both are things I hope that they are. Are they?
That's wonderful. Yes, they are.
Well,
Absolutely.
good.
And I'm
I
joining
am
you from my office. Nothing exciting.
marvelous. That's a lot of exciting things. I've been in your office and there is a lot of information in there. I'm so excited about today's topic because we are talking about something that affects men and women, everybody. It can be very fun, it can be terrible, it can be emotional, it can be not, all these things. And that topic is sex.
Oh, okay. Hope our
Yes,
audience is ready for this.
I hope so too. I really um it's important to have good information, right, about
Of
sex. And
course.
we have stereotypical information and perhaps anecdotal information from our own lives and our partners' experiences. But I am curious about the relationship between hormone levels and sex. So I have a few questions for you. And I guess I would like to say that during what we know now, because you taught us, that a healthy woman's balanced cycle, when their hormones are balanced, should be 28 days. And
28
throughout
to
that
30.
time, 28 to 30, okay. And throughout that time, it's natural for sex drives to increase and decrease depending on where you are in your cycle. I am wondering if all things equal in a woman's life, like her sleep is the same, exercise is the same, stress levels are relatively consistent. If she does achieve true healthy hormone balance, would she see a more consistent sex drive, or are the ups and downs very natural and fine?
Okay. Yes and no. It's a broad subject, but sex is an integral part of our life, so we should be
Mhm.
comfortable discussing about it. Um,
Great.
a woman is different physiologically than a man. A man will be driven by testosterone levels, which tend to be pretty much steady state. They do not necessarily rely on that interaction between estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. They don't have a cycle, so those levels of estrogens are not going to oscillate. They're not preparing to host and nourish a baby. So for us is completely different.
Mhm.
Our cycle and our hormone balance is going to determine how sexual or frisky we feel during a certain menstrual cycle, right?
Yeah, okay.
And most women experience a higher sexual drive, a higher sexual interest just closer or a few days prior to their ovulation. But ovulation varies from woman to woman if that even occurs in a given cycle. So a woman would expect a higher sexual drive 2 to 3 days prior to ovulation when those androgen levels are coming up to support that luteinizing hormone to stimulate in anticipation of stimulating ovulation, but also triggered by higher estrogen peak to stimulate that release of egg. So a woman is going to feel better about herself. A guy is going to be able to recognize that she's maybe about to ovulate. Now, when a guy looks at a woman, of course, the first thing that comes to his mind is she's ovulating. No, that's not it. She just looks more appealing because of a higher estrogen level that makes her more interested sexually, right? So that's when they're going to experience a lot or a higher sexual drive in a menstrual cycle. However, sexual experience is not necessarily alone driven by hormone balance. There are a lot of other factors in life that are highly dependent, such as body image, stress in
Mhm.
life. Do you have five
Mhm.
kids who are constantly asking you questions and make demands, and you're worn out, and maybe you have a little one and you haven't slept overnight? When
Mhm.
you're tired, you don't feel very amorous. You're not feeling romantically inclined, right? And And it has nothing to do with liking or loving your partner. It's just that your body is not able to sustain that particular interest. Your cortisol levels are high. If you're going through a lot of stress, that blocks the effects of those other sex hormones on their respective receptors. So you're not going to feel amorous. Also, situations at work or maybe preparing for exams, anything that would induce stress in life is going to raise that cortisol. PCOS women will have that insulin dysregulation, insulin receptor, blood sugar dysregulation that's going to drive their ovaries to produce a lot more testosterone. Well, that can result in increased sexual desire. Right? So a lot of more PCOS androgen-driven women are going to notice certain periods of time during their cycles that they will have a higher sexual drive driven by that testosterone surge increase.
That's
But
fascinating.
also,
Because I would have thought like PCOS and any issues related to pain and discomfort, and I wouldn't have expected that women experiencing that would all. But I guess that's maybe one good thing that comes out of it.
it depends on
Depending
how
on
you look at it, right?
your life.
And what that particular woman is considering okay for her to live with and otherwise not, because there are a lot of side effects with PCOS. There's a lot of androgenic driven acne, abnormal hair growth. They need to keep up with that body image, maybe shaving or waxing certain areas that other women generally don't do anything about it. It becomes compulsive, it becomes strenuous, it becomes tiring, and it can affect their body image. So even higher testosterone levels don't necessarily result in a more pleasurable sexual experience for PCOS women. It just really varies. But also the relationship status with significant other, right? We're not mentioning gender here, but any kind of relationship status that is not producing contentment, because neurotransmitters are deeply involved in sexual arousal and maintenance, desire to even continue. So if there's not that relationship status, contentment, happiness, then you're not likely to engage in sexual encounters or experiences despite having normal and or optimal levels of hormone balance. So there are various aspects that are involved, and I think we can dedicate an entire video clip to discussing arousal. So that will
Sure.
be a little bit more in depth. But women are never going to experience the same steady state sex drive that men do, because our bodies are cyclically preparing for a potential pregnancy, where a man's calendar month is not involving a cyclical change. Their bodies are not preparing for nourishing another little one, right? So their levels of testosterone are completely different than ours. And our bodies, hormone fluctuations of estrogen and progesterone in those two phases of the cycle, the follicular and the luteal, they are deeply related in how sexually inclined we feel. And it's
I
not
would
just
think.
the androgens, ladies. Yes, the androgens do have an important and huge impact on maintaining sexual arousal, interest, desire to continue feeling romantic, but progesterone is also involved, estrogen is also involved. You can have excellent levels of androgens, but if your estrogen is up and down or your progesterone is none, because let's just say you're 42 or 38 and your progesterone has started naturally declining, no longer maintaining that hormone balance, then sexual desire is gonna suffer.
Well, I think that's really important and it's almost hopeful, actually, I think, because um, just to know that your desire to have sex or not have sex with somebody that you've loved maybe for a long time, I think that there could be pressure, or you could question yourself, like, oh my gosh, and do I still love this person? Am I falling out of love with them? Like, I feel happy, I just don't want to have sex anymore. And I think that for women who are, approaching menopause or having those changes, just knowing that it maybe isn't you, it isn't necessarily reflective of your relationship. Maybe it is, but also there could be other health issues that if you address, could change that part of your life. And so you don't have to worry that your marriage is headed for disaster. You just need to be honest about how you're feeling. And I also think that I believe that partners, especially male female partners, should be open about where they are in their cycles and tracking. And, you know, like your partner will know if you're actively menstruating, right? But there's
Not
all the more
always.
reason,
You'd
all
be
the more like
surprised.
God, it's all the more reason for especially men to really key into their partner and how she's feeling, how she's doing, so that they can know, like, oh, you know, she's not rejecting me because she hates me. She's just like, this is not the high sex drive time. And also maybe doing things in your relationship that are particularly romantic at the right time, right? So that you're kind of strategizing together and enjoying your life more. And I just think that's something that isn't talked about very much. And
It
there's a
isn't.
lot of benefit to approaching things that way. So thank you for that explanation. It's kind of a load off to maybe the listeners or the viewers, just to know that it's not necessarily their opinion of their partner that is impacting their desire to have sex with them. Rather, a lot of it is physiological, and that's okay.
Absolutely. There's psychological, there's mental, there's also hormonal component to this. And I was kind of holding back on saying it, but now that you opened the door, it is important for guys to key in to kind
Mhm.
of read what's going on with a woman. And if they can't read, well, just ask. You know, there's nothing wrong with asking
Mhm.
direct questions, and that maybe welcomes open communication. I was going to say, since you're welcoming, you know, open and
Excited. Go ahead.
yeah, fresh communication. Sexual encounters should not be about wham bam, thank you, ma'am, right?
Ah.
It there is some prelude to that. And as women approach perimenopause, and especially menopause, they lose the ability to get quickly into that particular mood because
Mm.
of those fluctuating hormones, because of naturally decreasing hormones. So it's not that they no longer love you, guys,
Mm.
but their hormones are not driving them to be as amorous. So they could use a little bit of help, right? In addition
Uh-huh.
to maybe looking for a practitioner that could help you out with lifestyle choices, with nutrition
Mm.
impact, having those cofactors for hormones and neurotransmitters, but also helping guys get more engaged with those particular intimate experiences.
Fantastic. Oh my gosh. Go
And
about this
yes,
for
and yes, I always tell premenopausal women, you know, when you've been married for say 15 to 20 years and you're kind of bringing up that I'm not sure if I'm in love with my husband anymore. I always tell them, well, let's check your neurotransmitters, let's check your hormones because it's not really your guy. It could be your hormonal imbalance. We
Mm.
always have to look back at hormonal imbalance. It's just not a matter of, um, you know, mental type of exercises, creating more romantic atmosphere. If the
Mhm.
hormones are not there, you can burn as many candles as you want and you can dim the lights
Mm.
all you want. But if there's not the proper hormone balance, nothing really is going to be pleasurable. And then we also have to look at, and yes, this directly ties into the hormonal imbalance. As hormones decline with perimenopause, women will experience that vaginal dryness. So when there's
Mhm.
Sahara Desert down there and any kind of gentle touch, it kind of triggers pain, uncomfortableness,
Oh
even, you know, bleeding, excoriated skin.
my
You're not going
gosh.
to enjoy a sexual experience. So hormones directly tie into this. And there are plenty of corrective strategies that don't necessarily involve hormones if you're in perimenopausal stage, because we can still maybe stimulate your own natural production. But once you're in menopause, you're going to need that additional help.
Wow. How do you test neurotransmitters?
Urine
Oh.
neurotransmitters. So we look for metabolites and parent neurotransmitters, as well as cofactors that are involved in this. And I could maybe when we discuss um, arousal, we can talk
Mm.
about neurotransmitters because they are deeply involved in arousal. And we can talk about cofactors that are natural vitamins and nutrients that you take in through your diet that would support the progression of those biochemical reactions. So
That'd be great. Let's do that. I
yeah,
imagine like a metal hat with the wires. Like, how do you test neurotransmitters?
very simple. You pee in a cup, you dip a filter paper, and you send to the lab. Super simple,
Uh,
painless, in the comfort of your home. Definitely, we can look into it.
that's funny. Okay. Well, it sounds like especially men should watch this video and they should show it to their wives and they
I
should
hope
watch our
so.
next video in which we talk all about arousal. Mm.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Katie.